Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Business. I'm your host, Kay Miller, also known as Muffler Mama. Now, I don't know if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, sales professional, or part of an organization, but I do know that you want to be more successful, earn more money, and make a bigger impact. How do you do that? You create an advantage that's so unique it cannot be copied. That makes you not just the best choice, but the only choice. Stay tuned as I, along with my guests, give you marketing, sales, and personal branding strategies that will give you an uncopyable advantage. I am very excited to be welcoming Eliz Green to the podcast. Eliz is a speaker, consultant, author, and heart attack survivor. As she puts it, Eliz is ridiculously excited about stress. Through her research, along with her own experience, she's come up with practical strategies to manage stress, which she considers an essential survival skill. Eliz, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Kay.
I am very excited, seriously, to have you. We met, 3 years ago was? 2 or 3 years ago in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And that was at the National Speakers Association annual meeting. And you are a very prolific author and, of course, speak to many groups. We're also we both have books published by Sound Wisdom Publishing.
That's right.
And your book, which I've got right behind me, if you're watching on video or if you're not, and it's called Stress Proof Your Life. And just a ton of great information. Lots of good stories, and all of us are so stressed out now, or we are at least subjected to a ton of stress. And of course, COVID didn't help. We've got politics, we've got all kinds of things. So we all need to stress-proof our lives, and I can't wait to dig into this with you, Eliz. We have to start out with your big, huge story that started all of this, which is just really hard to believe. You were 35 years old.
Right.
You were 7 months pregnant after,
Yes.
and you had difficulty even getting pregnant.
That's
and
right.
then how do you do? You had a heart attack while you were pregnant. And so tell us about that.
Fortunately, I was in the hospital at the time. Being pregnant with twins and not a particularly tall person. So I'm 5'3" on a good day.
Standing up very tall.
Yeah, I stand up tall, wear big heels. So I had preterm labor, starting at month 4. By month 6, I was in the hospital on bed rest to control those contractions. And I spent a whole month there. And people often say, how could you possibly stay in bed that long? And I'm like, if I got up, I started having labor, serious labor. So it wasn't that hard. And really, I would have hung upside down by my toenails just to keep those babies in there a little bit longer.
Yeah, you mentioned there were 2 babies?
Yeah, 2 babies.
And
2 babies.
We got to throw that in, because when I got pregnant, I thought the last thing I want to hear is that I'm going to have twins.
But we knew there was a possibility that it could have been 3. It was good.
Only
2 were right. But anyway, I was there just minding my own business on a Sunday morning. I had breakfast. I ate lying down. The only time I got to really sit upright was if everything was going well, I could have a shower. And it was a big deal. It was a sitting down shower. I got to sit upright. I got to get clean. It was great. I looked forward to the shower. So I was in there doing that. And I started to have what I thought was heartburn. And because I ate laying down, I had heartburn all of the time. So this burning pressure feeling. So I finished my shower. I got out. And I was putting my hair into a ponytail, and this heartburny feeling became really intense, and I started to throw up. And it's not, my tummy is upset.
That's not normal.
Just got, what is going on here? And I knew that there was something really wrong. Went and called for the nurse, and that set in motion all the things that saved my life. There were people in my room right away. My high-risk OBGYN was doing her rounds on the floor. So she was in my room very quickly, started asking me questions about does anybody in your family ever have an early heart attack? And I'm like, you crazy lady, I'm not having a heart attack. Yes, I
Joke's
was.
on you.
So yeah, my heart stopped and didn't beat for 10 minutes. Fortunately, all these people are in my room. There's a respiratory therapist who got a mask on me right away. I got CPR right away. There was a cardiologist on his way to my room when they called the code. So got great treatment. They were able to restart my heart with the defibrillator. I woke up knowing everything was going to be okay. I was the only person that felt that way. So in a span of just a few hours, things really changed for us. They were able to diagnose what was going on with my heart in the heart cath lab. I needed to have bypass surgery. So they delivered the girls by an emergency C-section and they started to repair my heart. I had amazing care. And my girls are now 23, have graduated from college and are fully employed. And I'm doing really well. I am starting my 60th trip around the sun and happy for every day I get.
I'm sure that you are appreciating every day of your life. And what a story. You happen to be in the hospital. I feel like that's a God moment. My husband, Steve, actually recently he's fine, by the way, he had a stroke. And just so many things went right. And wow, the fact that this happened to you, this horrible thing, but you were in the right place at the right time. And luckily your girls were far enough along so that, yes, you could have them, right? How far along were you?
32 and a half weeks, which
still pretty early, right?
Still early. It's about 7 weeks early, but because I'd been on bed rest, they were big comparatively. You can call 3 pounds, 15 ounces.
I had an 8-pound, 7-ouncer. That sounds very small.
But comparatively for preemies, they were big. They looked like giants in the NICU. And they'd had the steroids to develop their lungs and that sort of thing. While they still had some ways to go, they were pretty healthy. And we were really all home together in about 3 weeks. They tell you they're not going to go home until their due date, but they outperformed.
Yeah, they were highly advanced from the very beginning. That whole story begs so many questions, but we only have 30 minutes, and I want to obviously give our listeners as many tools as we can. Of course, you should go to Eliz's website, elizgreen.com, right? I'll put that in the show notes and learn more about this story because it's just amazing. But that launched a career that you might not have had. We were just talking about go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, there is very little that's the same before and after that event. I'm still married to my amazing husband.
He must be totally amazing. I saw some videos of him. He's very amazing.
And before everything happened, I was a dance teacher and choreographer. After, I know, but it's still like getting up in front of people. And then shortly after everything happened, I was asked to be a speaker at a event kicking off the American Heart Walk here in Milwaukee. I went in and told my story and motivated people to raise money and that sort of thing. Just happened to be somebody from the national organization there and said, hey, what are you thinking about being the National Heart Walk spokesperson? And so for 2 years, I was the spokesperson for the American Heart Walk. Spoke to in front of a lot of people.
Oh, I'm sure. And apparently you didn't mind it. You're great. You're so charismatic.
I really like it. Now, I will admit, though, when I first started, I was on beta blockers, which is what they give people who are nervous about public speaking.
Perfect. That's probably better than a shot of tequila.
Yeah. But then I was thinking about returning to work. One of the staff people at the American Heart Association said, people will pay you.
You're really good at this. And people will pay.
And I'm like, what? But then through as you said, the National Speakers Association, found people who would tell me exactly how to do this business. And that launched my career. It was also right around the time where the Go Red for Women campaign launched. Being somebody who was young and had a heart attack and was willing to talk about it was something that was easily marketable.
Amazing, special. Although, you know what? And this is true for the really great speakers like you. It's harder than it looks. So you said somebody told you you could make money and you could do this, and they would tell you how to do it. So you obviously had
Yeah, it sounds a lot easier than it is. It
it's
just takes a lot of
frightening.
work.
And
It is,
especially
and
when
it
you
takes
start.
it is, and I did have the benefit of this really ripe market to
So
go
what?
to. It was perfect timing. However, that didn't last. 3 or 4 years later, there are a lot of women who are willing to stand up and talk about their battles with heart disease. Great for the cause. Not good for my business.
Move over. But how many women can say they were 7 months pregnant with twins when they had their heart attack? That is,
I know. So it is a rare but not unheard of complication of pregnancy. So it does happen. So actually, what happened to me is called a spontaneous dissection. It happens. Not a lot of women survive it, and then also a lot of going to stand up and tell everybody about it. But as I said, my market disappeared in a way because now there's all of these people who will volunteer to tell their story. Like many business people, I had to switch my market. And over time, I began to realize that no one ever is all that excited for a keynote on heart health. We may think that we know it's important. Nobody is excited about it. But I kept getting asked to do something on work-life balance or stress. And stress is a major risk factor for heart disease. And people really get excited about something. So that's what happened. That's why I had 7 years of research to write the book, so that I was giving good scientific backed strategies to address stress rather than just, ooh, that sounds like a good idea. And that really shifted my career.
So then you were so motivated to say, okay, how can I help other people fight stress and also yourself, right?
Right.
And
Oh, yeah.
the good news for you is that the world has gotten more and more stressful.
So,
You COVID?
Yeah, divisive politics.
Yeah. So let's
job
talk
security,
about
I guess.
someone listening who's stressed out, as we all
Mhm.
are. I doubt anyone can say, oh, I have zero stress in my life, but how can people deal with that better? And I need to ask you about the border collie and the iguana story too.
Oh, yeah. All right. So that's a lot. So first of all, I agree with you. I don't think anybody ever has zero stress because zero stress would be boring.
You said stress is good on some level, right?
Sometimes, yes, stress actually is just a natural reaction to what's in our environment. So if you're driving down the highway and you're hanging out on the right lane because you're getting off in 2 exits, and then somebody comes barreling down the on-ramp and you recognize that you are going to converge and that accident might happen, and you look to your left and there's a big truck coming by, that's a stress trigger, right? All kinds of things start happening in your body. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your blood even gets stickier. So if you were in the car accident, you wouldn't bleed to death. And your brain is now completely focused. I know, it's cool. That's why I'm ridiculously excited about stress.
I can see. I'm getting excited too.
Yeah, your brain is focused on avoiding the car accident. So if the radio is on, you're not hearing it anymore. But if then the truck clears and you're able to get over and you avoid the car accident, get that sort of tingly.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, the adrenaline's there and then it's gone. And
well, and the cortisol too. That's your stress hormone. That stress hormone triggers all of that coming up. And then when it ebbs out, when you don't need it anymore, all of that comes back to equilibrium, which is how it's supposed to work.
This podcast is sponsored by my latest book, which I co-authored with my husband, Steve. It's part of the Uncopyable series, and this one's called Uncopyable You. Create a personal brand that gets people to know you, like you, trust you, and remember you. Order it now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or your favorite independent bookstore. However, there's a big but here.
There's 2 buts. First, your body doesn't know the difference, or your brain doesn't know the difference between that car accident that might happen and a surprise birthday party, both the same reason. So if we didn't get the fun of the surprise birthday party, life is boring. So it's not good or bad, just is. And then 2, that ebbing is an important part of the equation. If that cortisol never has the chance to come down because you're constantly bombarded, perhaps by political ads and messages, marketing, it's
Yep.
just constantly
Ads.
triggering until your cortisol level is here and never comes back down. And then all kinds of things start happening. You have trouble sleeping because you can't sleep when your cortisol level is high. You retain fat around your middle because your body's like, there's something going on. I'm going to hold on to everything I've got.
Oh, thank
You're-
you. Yeah, thank you.
I often say if you're eating right, exercising, doing all the things that you should, and you still are retaining fat around your middle, really take a look at your stress level and your sleep. Because if that cortisol level isn't coming down, your body's, I am holding on. I am just going to keep it right here because I don't know when I'm going to need it. Your body's really smart.
Yeah. Like you said, the blood coagulates and they're also helping you prepare for a rainy day.
But none of us actually need higher blood pressure and stickier blood on a long-term
Oh,
basis.
yeah.
That's
So you're
not
going to
good
tell
for your
us
heart.
how to help prevent that.
Right. Well, first thing is to actually notice that you're having a stress reaction or that your stress level is high. And if you go to I put together a resource page for you, stressproofnow.com. If you go there, you can find some quizzes like how high is your stress level? And you can also find the border collie iguana quiz.
Ooh, the border collie and iguana is a quiz. I love that. That's
Yes.
intriguing. And again, stressproofnow.com. I'm going to put all the links that we talk about in the show notes. So don't worry. It's all there.
Don't stress.
Don't stress. That's a good one. You probably use that a lot, but yes, that's funny. Okay. So awareness is number
Right.
one.
Just noticing what's going on. That, oh, wow, look, my stress level is high. And then taking steps to interrupt that reaction that's happening and let it come back down, your cortisol levels to come back down to normal. Now, stress management strategies are often talked about as like just one kind of thing. They're mostly quiet, contemplative strategies. That works well for some people. Other people really need to be distracted from all of the things that are causing them stress. That, especially if uncertainty is part of what's causing them stress, in order to disconnect from all of that and let all this come down to base level again. And this point came really clear on vacation with my husband for his 50th birthday party. Yeah. He is a type A guy. He's an attorney. He likes any activity that has rungs and stunts you can do and like riches you can earn. So scuba diving.
Yeah, win along win.
Yeah. So scuba diving was a really great activity for him. But we live in Wisconsin. Most of his dives take place in Lake Michigan, which is cold. Never gets really above the 40s down at the bottom. So for his 50th birthday, we went on a trip to Cozumel, Mexico with a couple of other couples who are divers. I am not a diver. I don't think my cardiologist would think that is a good idea.
Probably not.
Probably not. And so they would go out diving in the morning, enjoying that. I got to watch the GoPro video. Love that part. We'd have lunch together. And then the other couples would retire to the pool in a mangrove with actual iguanas running around. I didn't know iguanas can swim.
I didn't either.
So they would lounge like iguanas in the sun and have a beverage and read and talk and have another beverage, maybe a nap. And that's where they spent the afternoon. I am super pale and my husband doesn't sit still. So that hanging out by the pool was only going to last so long. So we would leave, go sightseeing or to a museum or shopping or out on the little sailboat or whatever, always coming back and saying hello and socializing. And then one day, one of the gentlemen said to my husband, when are you going to relax? You are go all the time. My husband said, I am relaxed. I'm like a border collie. If I don't have something to do, I start chewing on things. And it was one of those moments in a marriage where you go, yeah, That makes a lot of sense.
That's how you tick. Now I know.
Yeah, that is an excellent metaphor for exactly what happened. So of course I took that and made like an entire career out of that. Um,
Thanks, honey.
because I'm a speaker. But he's not chewing on furniture. He just can't let go of all of those things that are just chewing on his brain, whether there's going to be something in his email when he gets back, or whether the project he delegated was going to be done the right way. It's just here. So if he's not distracted, if he's not occupied, that just keeps chewing and he can't get that cortisol level.
So meditation or just deep breathing or something won't work for him. Is that right?
No, if you make him sit still and listen to his breath, that makes his stress worse. Now,
So what does he?
so
Go on.
yeah, we all exist somewhere on the spectrum between border collie and iguana. I'm a little more on the iguana side. I like to read my book, usually in the shade.
Yes, with your pale.
I also like things that are like gardening or doing sewing projects or things like that, that my hands are busy and that allows my mind to be free, which is meditative in a way. My husband needs things that are more occupied. He may need to work on, like, he watches retirement YouTube videos, like, because they're
Wow.
mentally challenging.
I don't even know what that means, but I'm going to have to find out.
There's a lot of them on YouTube. Also, videos about walking through sailboats. We're sailors. So, like, he needs something that is
Engages.
engaging and his brain is active, but not like super active. But it's engaged enough so he's not thinking about all that other stuff, so that he can get that cortisol level down. Mysteries, action books, those sort of things are really good. But also, for a lot of border collies, it's physical activity as well. But it can't be a physical activity that's boring. Like, gotta have
a little bit of both. Interesting.
Yeah.
So the quiz that you're talking about, it sounds like it's to help you identify whether you're more like a border collie and an iguana. And then once you determine that, how do you go to find what is going to work for you to, like you said, either be engaged elsewhere or meditate or what do you do?
So when you finish the quiz, you get a list of activities that probably will work for you. So whether you're an iguana with border collie tendencies or somewhere along the line, you get a list of activities to try. And a lot of those, sometimes you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, I really used to do that. And you stop making time for it because it seems like indulgent to do it. But it's the thing that's most likely to allow you to disconnect from your stress. So going back to that hobby or that activity that you really love, whether it's you used to play in a recreational softball league and you let that go, but that's really something that allows you to disconnect, maybe go back to it.
You know what? I have a personal example of that. And I've read the book, but I haven't taken the quiz, and I'm definitely going to do that. And I think maybe I'm closer to the border collie side. But one thing, when our daughter, she's a little older than your daughters, but when she was a kid, she took piano and I took it with her. Years go by. I just started last fall taking it again. And it, for me, is that exact thing you're talking about. It takes me into the Zen mode, and I can sit down at the piano and look up at the clock and an hour went by.
That's perfect. That is perfect. And
I never thought of that.
Playing music, listening to music, going to a concert, all of those. I think there's a lot about what happens to our brains when we're involved in music, and a lot in terms of singing. Just if you are a shower singer or a car singer, that's a great way to bring your cortisol level down.
And dancing. I saw, I know you're a big fan of dancing, whether you're cleaning the dishes or whatever, you could always dance in that movement. So what I really like about your approach is it's not one size fits all, because we all think of meditation and yoga, those types of things, breathing.
And I'm not saying those things
for
are bad.
Everybody. Yeah.
Right. They're not bad. They work.
But we don't
really
think of
great.
these other things. So once you decide or you find out what floats your boat, what tools that do you have then to help you deal with stress better?
So that disconnection piece is really important. So you got to stop that reaction that you're having so that you can bring that cortisol level down. And then there are techniques to signal your body to let that cortisol go. One of them is raising your heart rate up, keeping it there for a little while and bringing it back down.
And
That's a
I'm
signal for
assuming
your
you're talking
body.
about exercise, not like having a panic attack.
A panic attack, not great, but sometimes your body makes you let go of the cortisol. So when a lot of times when people are stressed, especially around uncertainty, anger comes up and we have these outbursts that our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up. All of those things happen when we're angry and then it comes back down. It's not the healthiest situation in terms of the anger part, but your body will make you get rid of the cortisol. It's also why our bodies sometimes cry in stressful situations or laugh. Like I had a hotel manager who during COVID, as we were going back, was just stressed beyond measure. And she said, they'll come and tell me really bad news. And I just burst out laughing. It is so embarrassing. I'm like, your body is just taking care of you.
That is so interesting because I remember times even in school or classrooms and you start to laugh and it's like that anxiety turns to laughter and then you can't stop it. That laughing, like crying, is a release, right? And
Yeah.
then, like you said, if you have a stressful situation like a near miss car collision, afterwards your body lets all that go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So there's ways you can signal your body, and it doesn't have to be exercise. It could be cheering on your favorite sports team. So if you're a sports fan like I am and you tend to stand up and scream even in your living room, heart rate goes up, comes back
mhm.
down, you get that cortisol release. It's a great way. It's better if they win.
Are you a
But
cheesehead?
yeah,
Cheesehead. That is really interesting because I think a lot of people do think that living a stress-proof life or being stress-free is just this even keel. So you're saying,
mm,
no, that's not it.
mm.
It's
No, that's boring.
that's boring. Especially if you're a speaker in NSA, you don't want to be boring.
No, that would not be good for business. Mhm.
But as we close this out, really, I think the next step for people would be to go to stressproofnow.com and dig a little bit deeper into
Yeah.
what your style is, what relaxes you or hypes you up or whatever. Do you have any few closing tips on how to deal with stress?
Be kind to yourself. I think that's the best advice that I have is we can so often should ourselves to death. Um, I should be handling this better. I should be able to do this differently. Yeah, I should. And not recognizing that there's always going to be stress we can't avoid in our environment. Like we can get everything all lined up just perfectly, and then something will fly in from outer space. And oh, how about you deal with that? That is just, there's always going to be unavoidable stress. Give yourself enough grace and space to back up and say, ooh, I am feeling that this situation has changed and now my cortisol level is up. I'm going to take some steps to bring it back down again so my brain and my body work. That's the whole thing. Just be kind enough to yourself. Give yourself that space.
That's a great closing thought. Don't add to your stress by stressing yourself out. Eliz, I was excited about this interview and you did not disappoint. I really appreciate you spending the time with me and everyone listening, enjoy the wisdom and put this to work to help you live a more stress-proof life. Thank you, Eliz.
Thank you. This was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode. And by the way, I invite you to join my Facebook group, Uncopyable Women in Business. See you next time, and always remember to be uncopyable.